We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti Podcast. As long as science is the activity of a separate group or nation, such knowledge can only bring about greater conflict, greater havoc in the world, which is what is happening now. Hello and welcome to episode 283 of Urgency of Change. The Krishnamurti Podcast features carefully selected extracts from Krishnamurti's recorded talks. Each episode highlights his different approaches to universal and timeless themes that affect our everyday lives, the state of the world, and the future of humanity. This episode's theme is science. Upcoming themes are despair, Holism, and Activism and Social Change. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust, based at Brockwood Park in the UK, which is also home to the Krishnamurti Centre. The centre offers a variety of group retreats, including for young adults. There is also a volunteer programme. The atmosphere at the centre is one of openness and friendliness, with a sense of freedom to inquire with others and alone. Please visit krishnamurticentre.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on science has 3 sections. This first extract is from the first small group discussion in New Delhi 1981 and is titled, "Scientists Have Not Helped Me."
Thought has created everything that I know. Right? All the temples, all the churches, all the mosques are created by thought. And the things inside the mosques, inside the churches, inside the temples are created by thought. So there is nothing sacred about thought. The rituals, the mass, the wafers, all that is the invention of thought. Do we agree to that? Then I'm asking myself, what is thinking? I respond immediately if you ask my name. Because it's familiar, I've repeated it dozens of times. But if you ask me something much more complex, it takes time to investigate, to answer. Right? That is, I'm looking into my memory and trying to find the answer. Or consult books, talk to somebody, etc., etc. So there is immediate response. There is the response of time and the response which says, I really don't know. Right? I don't know if you follow. We never say, I don't know. We're always responding from memory. Right? May go on. That memory is in the cells of my brain. Derived through tradition, through education, through experience, through perception, hearing, and so on. I am all that. Born in India, educated abroad, etc., etc. The content of my consciousness is the result of all of Indian culture, European culture, Italian culture, and so on, so on, so on. The content of my consciousness is the result of innumerable talks, discussions with the scientists, with the religious people, with phonies. Right? I'm all that. My consciousness is me. I am not different from my consciousness. So the observer is the observed. Right? And before I discovered that, I'm not talking about myself, before a human being discovers that there is no separation between the observer and the observed psychologically, one lives in constant conflict. That's a fact. So my consciousness is the consciousness of humanity. It's not separate. And this consciousness has no conflict, pay all that. Has invented God. God hasn't invented me. Or you put it, God doesn't want me to have a rotten life, but I have a rotten life. So, all that is my action, both scientific, religious, all that. And human beings have lived for 25,000 years in this misery, inventing technology, using the technology to destroy each other. You know what's happening in the world. I don't go into all that. Dividing man against man, which thought has done. Nationalities is the result of glorified tribalism, which is thought. So, seeing all that, what am I to do? What I am is the rest of the world. I am the world. This isn't an intellectual idea, but actually, factually, I am the rest. So what am I to do? The politicians haven't helped me. I'm the ordinary man, not the highly intellectual and up there. I'm an ordinary man. What am I to do? I've looked to the gurus, they haven't helped me. The politicians haven't. The scientists have not told me. On the contrary, they have destroyed me. Apart from technological conveniences, communication and all that, they are destroyed. The atom bombs and military technology. They are perpetually creating war. For the last historical 5,000 years, we have had wars every year. It's a fact, again, historical fact. And I've relied on everybody to help me. So I discard the whole of that. Right? I have discarded. No, I see politicians, I see gurus, I see the scientists. So I have to be responsible completely for myself. Myself is the society I live in. I've created it. Right? My fathers, my past generations, of which I am the result, we have created that society, the rotten society we live in. Right? And how am I, with all this accumulation of tremendous knowledge, how am I to change all that? That's the real crisis. I don't know if you agree with all that. How am I, who is the result of 25,000 years, living in the same cycle, repeating over and over again the same thing? I've been an intellectual, a romantic, a worshipper of the false. I've been a phony. I'm the ordinary man. And what am I to do? I feel the crisis there, sir, not in the world of technology, or in the intellectual world, or in the totalitarian world. The crisis is there.
The second extract is from the first talk at Los Alamos in 1984 and is titled Creativity in Science.
If I may, this is not a lecture. This is a conversation between you and the speaker. The subject, I believe, is creativity in science. Science generally means knowledge accumulated through 200 or 300 years and increasing more and more and more knowledge. And what relationship is creativity with knowledge? That's the subject I've been asked to talk about. What is knowledge? It is acquired through thousands of years through experience, stored in the brain as knowledge and memory. And from that memory, thought arises. So knowledge is limited always, whether now or in the future. And so thought is always limited. And where there is limitation, there is conflict. So what place has creativity with regard to science. Is there a relationship at all? Please, we are thinking together. We are questioning the very source, very accumulative process of knowledge. Science means knowledge, Latin and so on. And can creativity, in its deepest sense, in its profound activity, what place has creativity or creation with regard to knowledge? We have given tremendous importance to knowledge. From the ancient times, from China, India, before the Christian civilization came into being, they were tremendously respectful, worshipped knowledge. And knowledge, as we said before, is always limited because it's based on experience. And so memory, thought is limited. Thought has created most extraordinary things in the world. All the great monuments from the ancient of times, great art, vast technology in the present day, and the creation of a nuclear bomb, and so on. Thought has brought about extraordinary state in the world. Thought has created God, built vast cathedrals of Europe, all the things that are filled in the museums, poetry, statue, and all the marvelous things that thought has done. Because thought is the outcome of knowledge. Knowledge is science, expressed technologically or otherwise. Thought also has created wars. And we are faced with another war, maybe. And human beings, for the last 5,000 or more years, have been killing each other in the name of God, in the name of peace, in the name of their own particular tribal country. Man has destroyed other human beings. Now, at the present civilization, where we are gathered here, where they are producing these enormous destructive things, that's the result of science, which is the knowledge. So what place has knowledge, science, with creation? Creation has been one of the most complex problems Various religions say this is the source of creation, God, and so on. Each tribal country, which is called nationalism, have their own particular expression, have their own tribal gods. And science, that is, which has produced extraordinary, marvelous things in the world, communication, computers, medicine, surgery, all that has been the result of thought, going to the moon and so on. So can thought ever be creative in its most profound sense? What is creation? Must creation be always expressed, manifested? That which is manifested must be limited. We are the result of tremendous years of centuries of endeavor, conflict, struggle, pain, sorrow. We are the result of all that. Our brains have infinite capacity, but it has been conditioned not only religiously, but also nationally. You're all Americans, Chinese, Russians, and so on. We have divided the world geographically, religiously, culturally, and also we have divided human beings. The Caucasians, the blacks, and the browns, like us. And so, thought has brought about tremendous conflict between human beings. That's a fact. Not only between individuals, but also collectively. We have also suffered through wars, through pestilence, every form of disease. And science has been able to help or cure some of all that. But also science has produced most destructive instruments of war. Before, you killed a man, perhaps in a war 200 or 300 people or more. Now you can destroy the whole world. Again, based on ideals, ideologies, tribal glorification, which is nationalism, taking all that. But we, after 45,000 years as Homo sapiens, we are. What are we? What have we become? And in this confusion, because most human beings are terribly confused, though they may not admit it, uncertain, not only seeking physical security, but also they want inward psychological security in their relationships, with regard to future and so on. So taking all this into consideration, as our brains are specialized, conditioned by knowledge, and so our activities are conditioned, limited. Wherever there is limitation, there must be conflict. When you divide the world into to Americas, the Asiatics, Europeans, the Jew and the Arab, there must be conflict. Not only wars, but conflict between individuals, between man and woman. Considering all this, what place has creation? Knowledge can never be creative. We're going to question all this. Knowledge can bring about a better physical world externally. And when we give such extraordinary importance to knowledge, which is the intellect, to us, intellect is vital, important, essential. But intellect is also limited. We never look at life holistically, as a whole, not as a scientist, a physician, psychiatrist, and so on. We are human beings first. And as human beings, what are we? What have we become? After millennia upon millennia, are we civilized? I know you are all very affluent society. You've got a great many cars, marvelous country, beautiful roads, and so on. But we, as human beings, what are we? And it's human beings that are capable of creation. Not only as scientists, but also in our daily life. Because after all, what is important? We have forgotten, or we never had, the art of living. Not as scientists, as human beings. We are perpetually in conflict. And can conflict, struggle, pain, anxiety, uncertainty, can such a brain be creative? Or creation is something entirely different. As we said, we are thinking together, if that's possible. Not that the speaker thinks and tells you, or do we together as human beings think about these matters now? That is to forget our professions, our vocations of imitation, and as human beings, can we be creative? First, if we understand the significance of that, then we can turn to science, religion, and so on. Can we, as human beings, look at the world as we are, as we have made of it? I wonder if one realizes whether we are individuals at all. Because our consciousness, which is made up of our reactions, physical, biological reactions, our beliefs, our faith, all the prejudices that we have, multiplication of opinions, the fears, the insecurity, the pain, the pleasure, and all the suffering that human beings have borne for thousands of years. That's all that is our consciousness. Our consciousness is what we are. And in this confusion, in these contradictions, can there be creation? And we share the consciousness of entire humanity, because you suffer, you have pleasures, beliefs, conclusions, opinions, and all the religious dogmas and faiths which is shared by all human beings on this earth. So one questions whether we are individuals psychologically. You may be different, you may be tall, you may be short. But as human beings with our consciousness, are we different from the rest of mankind? We never questioned all this. We trot along all the days of our lives, accepting, imitating, conforming. When we rebel outwardly. There have been revolutions, Russian, French, and thousands of revolutions have taken place. But inwardly, we remain more or less as we have been for thousands of years. So taking all this into, not intellectually, but as a whole, are we creative? or creation is something entirely different. You can invent a new method, discover, explore, break up the atom, and so on and so on. It is all the activity of thought, cunning, capable, deceptive, creating illusions and worshipping those illusions. After all religions are based on that. Thought has created God. The speaker is not an atheist, but thought has created wars, murdered in the name of God millions of people, and thought has created all the things in the cathedrals, in the churches, in the temples, in the mosques. So, can thought be creative? Because as we said, thought is limited, because it's based on knowledge. And knowledge is the result of vast experience. So we're asking a really very fundamental question. Whether thought can ever be creative. It can invent. We can produce new weapons of war. Vast, the surgery, medicine, and so on. And in our relationship with each other, man, woman, what place has thought in that? Is thought love? I know we say not. But if we look at ourselves and our relationship with each other, husband, wife, and boy and a girl, and so on, our relationship is based on the image you have built about her and she has built about him. That relationship is based on thought. So thought has been extraordinarily capable of certain things, and thought has also brought about the destruction of man, of human beings like ourselves, dividing them into ideologies, the Russian ideology, democratic ideology, and so on. So, please, thought can never be creative. Because what it can manifest must be limited. And where there is limitation, there must be conflict. Between man and woman, between ideologies, between the Arab and the Jew, between the American and the Russian, this division geographically, nationally, religiously. And conflict can never, under any circumstances, bring about a creativity of creation. So, if thought is not the ground of creation, then what is creation? When does it take place? Baking a bread is also creation of a certain kind. Having babies, also creation. And so on, all the way up. But surely, creation can only take place when thought is silent. You may totally disagree with this. I hope you do. I'm sure you do. Because to us, thought is extraordinarily important. Which means the intellect, which is only part of the human being. So the speaker says creativity can never take place where there is the activity of thought. And the question then arises, can thought be quiet? Can thought be put aside for a while? Then who is it that helps thought to put it aside? It is still thought. I don't know if you're following all this. So it's a very complex process. And they have tried every method to quieten thought. Drugs, tranquilizers, and also they have tried every form of meditation. The Zen meditation, the Tibetan, the Hindu, the Buddhist, and all the latest gurus with their nonsense. They have tried everything to quieten the thought. Because thought has its place. But psychologically, inwardly, can there be certain silence, quietness? And love is that silence, is that quality of great strength, quiet energy. So we're asking, is love the only factor that is creative? Not sex. I know we have reduced love to pleasure. And we have to ask, what is love? If you once comprehend, perceive that thought can never, under whatever circumstances, be creative. Because thought is limited. Of that there is no question. If we once see the truth of it, then we can begin to ask, is there another instrument, another way of looking at life? Then we can begin to inquire, what is love? What is compassion? What is intelligence? Intelligence is part of that thought. Intelligence has created Los Alamos. And what is the nature of love? Is it desire? Is it pleasure? Is it creating images? Images about your wife, your husband? Is it the images of ideologies? So, to find out, to discover, to come upon that extraordinary thing called love, one must have a very clear understanding of our daily life. And that means psychologically, inwardly, we have no freedom. We talk about freedom, especially in this country, where you have experts tell you what to do, specialists. I don't know, you must be aware of all these. How to bring up a baby, how to have sex, how to beautify yourself, what kind of exercise. And so you are specialists in religion, in science, and so on. And this you call freedom. And as our time is very, very limited, we cannot possibly go into the question more deeply, what is freedom? Without freedom, there is no love. But we are not free. We're anxious, we're frightened of death. frightened of the future. We have carried this burden of fear for thousands of years. We're talking about psychological fears first, and then the physical fears later. So, can such a brain, which is so conditioned, as a computer, can such a brain love and is creativity, whether in science, in biology, and so on, where there is great activity of thought with its own peculiar intelligence, can that thought be creative? If not, then how does creation take place? They have asked this question. Religious people have asked this question. Theologians. If you go to India, they'll invent their own theory about creation. So do the Christians, Muslims, and all say God, or some biological reason. So we are saying that creation is only possible where there is love. Then what is love? Love is not desire. Love is not pleasure. Love is not religious entertainment. To understand the complexity of desire, the complexity of sorrow, and the enormous the thing that we call death. All that's part of our life, our daily living. So is there freedom? Have we loved? If there is love, we'll never kill another human being. Never. And this whole world now is collecting armaments. Every country wants the latest instrument of destruction. America is supplying it. England, Russia, Germany, and each country is producing its own deadly instruments. And amongst this chaos, we want to have the spirit of creation, creativity. On one hand, you produce most destructive instruments of war. On the other, you talk about love, peace, and so on. We live in a state of contradiction. And where there's contradiction, there must be conflict, and therefore there can never be creation or creativity. It's only when the brain is quiet, not controlled quietness. When the brain is absolutely silent, though it has its own rhythm. Man has inquired into this from the ancient of days. Can the brain be utterly still for a while? Not everlastingly chattering, not probing, not inquiring, not searching, but quiet, still. And to understand that stillness, one must understand what is meditation and so on. Meditation is not conscious meditation, because that's what you have been taught. Conscious, deliberate meditation. Sitting cross-legged or lying down or repeating certain phrases and so on. It's all deliberate, conscious effort to meditate, which is part of desire. And the speaker says such meditation is nonsense. It's like desiring a good house, a good dress, and you desire to have a peaceful mind, which is the same thing. Conscious meditation destroys, prevents the other form of meditation. To go into that we haven't time. But so that requires extraordinary perception. Without the word, without image. But so, science is the movement of knowledge, gathering more and more and more. The more is the measurement. And thought can be measured, because thought is a material process. And knowledge has its own insight, its own limited creation. And therefore it brings conflict. But we're talking about holistic perception, in which the ego, the me, the personality doesn't enter at all. Then only there is this thing called creativity.
The third and final extract in this episode is from a direct recording in Ojai 1984 and is titled, "If Scientists Worked for Peace."
Science is what has brought about the present state of tension in the world as it has put together through knowledge, the most destructive instrument that man has ever found. It can wipe out whole cities at one blow. Millions can be destroyed in a second. Million human beings can be vaporized. And also science has given us great many beneficial things. Communication, medicine, surgery, and innumerable small little things for the comfort of man, for an easy life, a way in which human beings need not struggle endlessly to gather food, cook, and so on. It has given us the modern deity, the computer. And who can enumerate the many, many things that science has brought about to help man and also destroy man, destroy the entire world of humanity and the vast and the beauty of nature. That is science. And governments are using these scientists. Well, the scientists like to be used for they have a position, money, and recognized by governments and so on. Now, human beings also look to science to bring about peace in the world. And they have failed, as politics and the politicians have failed to give man total security, peace to live and cultivate, not only fields, but their brain, their heart, their way of living, which is the art of living, which is the highest art. And religions, the accepted, traditional, superficial, a religion of belief, faith and creeds and dogmas. These forms of religions have brought about great damage in the world. They have been responsible for wars in history, dividing man against man. On a whole continent based on beliefs, rituals and dogmas, against another continent who do not believe the same things, the same symbols, the same rituals. This is not religion, but just repetition of a tradition, of endless rituals that have lost meaning except that they give some kind of stimulus, and it's become now a vast entertainment. This is not religion. Religion is something entirely different. We have often spoken about that. The essence of religion is freedom. Not to do what you like, that's too childish. Too immature and too contradictory. And so, bringing great conflict and misery and confusion. Freedom is something entirely different. Freedom means to have no conflict, psychologically, inwardly. And with freedom, the brain becomes holistic, not fragmented in itself. Freedom also means love, compassion. And there is no freedom, there is not intelligence. Intelligence is is inherent in compassion and love. We can go into this endlessly. Not verbally or intellectually, but inwardly live a life of such nature. And in a secondary school or a high school, science as knowledge, science not merely an instrument of governments, instrument of politicians, with their ambition, with their divisive activities, but science has knowledge. Knowledge may be expansive, can expand endlessly, but that knowledge is always limited, because knowledge is based on experience. That experience may be theoretical, hypothetical result. Knowledge is necessary, but as long as science is the activity of a separate group or separate nation, which is tribal activity, such knowledge can only bring about greater conflict, greater havoc in the world, which is what is happening now. Science with its knowledge is not to destroy human beings. For scientists, after all, are first human beings, not some specialists, but human beings who are ambitious, greedy, seeking their own personal security and so on, like all the rest of the other human beings in the world. They're like you and another. But their specialization is bringing great destruction. There is also some benefit. Last two wars have shown this. Humanity seems to be in perpetual movement of destruction and building up again. Destroy and build. Destroy human beings and bring about more and give birth to more, give birth to greater population. But if all the scientists in the world put their tools down and say we will not contribute to war, to destroy humanity, but turn their attention, their skill, their commitment to bring about a better relationship between nature, environment, and human beings. And unless we have peace in the world, or there is some peace among few people, then those few, not necessarily the elite, and apply all their skill to bring about a different world, then religion and science can go together.